A lot of men feel stuck, not because they lack discipline, not even because they lack effort, but because they are carrying things that were never theirs to carry in the first place. They're overcommitted, overextended, and they're quietly resentful. But because they never defined their lane, they don't know what is theirs to carry. This channel exists to help men get unstuck, mentally, emotionally, and practically. And one of the fastest ways to stay stuck is to say yes to everything and then to feel guilty when you can't sustain it. Let's get to work.
Rise from the ashes. Fight for your legacy. No more excuses. It's time to win the war within.
Most men really don't have a time problem. They have a clarity problem. You don't feel overwhelmed because there's too much to do. You feel overwhelmed because you haven't decided what is actually yours to do. And when that's unclear, everything feels important, everything feels urgent, and everything pulls on you, which leads to burnout, frustration, and quiet resentment. Even guilt every time you say no. So today is simple. We're going to build a system to help you know what is yours to carry, to help you decide what you need to cut, and how to do it all without apology. Here's the core principle. Clarity removes guilt. If saying no feels wrong, that's not a character issue, it's a clarity issue. So let's diagnose this first. There are 3 reasons that you keep stepping outside of your lane. Number 1 is approval conditioning. You were trained to be liked, not necessarily to be effective. So you say yes to avoid disappointing people, to maintain your image, to keep the peace. The second thing is role confusion. You don't know what your actual responsibilities are, so you fill all the gaps. You pick up all the slack. You take ownership of things that aren't yours. And number three is simple. FOMO, the fear of missing out. You think that saying no to things means you're losing opportunity, influence, and relationships. So you say yes, and you slowly lose your focus, your energy, and your edge. We talk about the what and the why on Transformation Thursday. Today is all about the how. So let's make this executable. Step number 1, define your core assignments. You need 3 to 5 core assignments maximum, not 10, not 12. An example, your personal health, your marriage, your family, your personal growth, your calling, and your income. Now here's the key. Write down what you're actually responsible for producing in each category. Not vague responses, but clear outcomes. Here's an example. For your health, what are you responsible for? Training 4 times a week? For your family, you're responsible for presence, leadership, and stability. For personal ministry, what is it? 1 to 2 intentional conversations a week and daily personal discipline through prayer, study, and alignment? Through work, what's your responsibility? Your responsibility to you, revenue, and your performance targets. Look, if it's not defined, it's going to expand. Step number 2, you have to identify your current season. You're not called to everything all the time. So ask, what requires the most focus right now? Ask yourself, what is non-negotiable in this season? Because seasons change. What's non-negotiable in this season? Here's the hard question. What must temporarily decrease? These are strong questions, but without indicators, men tend to default to emotion. So here are some clear, objective indicators for each so that they can be executable. Number 1 question, what requires the most focus right now? The key indicators are the weight of the consequences. What has the biggest negative impact if it fails? The other indicators, pressure signals. Where are you feeling consistent tension, deadlines, or demand? Another indicator is outcome dependency. What other areas of your life are depending upon this right now? Another indicator, time sensitivity. What has a short window that can't be delayed? And the most important, irreplaceability. What can only you do? What can't be delegated? And I promise you, this list is shorter than you think. Here's a couple right off the top of my head. I'm not saying this is an exhaustive list, but it might be. And if there are more, there's very, very few more. You are responsible for your personal health, your personal physical health, emotional health, and spiritual health. Nobody can help you be more physically healthy. Nobody can control what you eat other than you. Nobody can control how often and how intense your workouts are other than you. Your emotional health. You are the gatekeeper. You determine what has access and authority in your life, no one else. Your spiritual health. Nobody can force you to spend time with God. That's something that only you can do. Look, here's the rule. If it has high consequence and time sensitivity, and if it requires you, it gets your priority. Wait a minute. Here is the only other area that I can think of right off the top of my head that you are the only one that can do it. It can't not be delegated. No one else can be the husband to your bride, and no one else can be the father to your children. Again, there might be more, but I doubt it. And if there are more, there's very few. Here's the rule. If it has high consequence, high time sensitivity, and if it requires you, it gets a top priority. The second thing is, what is non-negotiable in this season? The key indicators are, what are your identity anchors? What keeps you grounded regardless of circumstances? Is it your marriage, or is it your relationships? Is it your disciplines? What's your minimum effective standard? This is what I talk about, the ceiling and the basement. What does my ideal day look like? What is my minimum effective standard? What must be maintained even on your worst days, your worst weeks? And then there's the long-term projection. What prevents regression or collapse? And then you have an indicator that's covenant versus preference. What is a commitment? What's a convenience? Then you have to have your baseline discipline. What actions define you staying aligned with who you say you want to become? Here's the rule. If removing it causes long-term damage, it's non-negotiable. That third question, the hard question, what must temporarily decrease? Key indicators. Is it a low ROI activity? Is it a low return on investment activity? What takes your time but produces very little return? Another indicator is, what's an energy drain? What constantly leaves you depleted without meaningful output? What are your misaligned opportunities? What sounds good but doesn't fit your current season? What are the redundancies that you have? What are you doing that could be simplified, delegated, automated, or even eliminated? What are your emotional commitments? What are you holding on to out of guilt, not responsibility? Here's the rule. If it's not essential, if it's not aligned, if it's not urgent, it gets reduced or even removed. Here's a simple tactical filter for you to run everything through. Number one, does this move my primary assignment forward? Number two, does this require me or could someone else do it? Number three, what happens if I don't do this right now? And give the real answer. If it fails 2 out of 3 of those questions, it cannot be your focus. Step number 3, you have to eliminate false obligations. And this is where most men break down. False obligations include things that you said yes to way too quickly. You need to take your time with your yes. Your no's can be fast, but your yeses, they need to be measured. What are the things that you inherited from others? Whether this be somebody passing the buck because they didn't want the responsibility, or whether it just be something that somebody passed off to you because they didn't see the importance of it. Those are false obligations. Another false obligation is things that are driven by guilt, not responsibility. So here's the protocol. The 3-question cut. For every obligation, ask yourself, am I actually responsible for this? Number 2, ask yourself, what happens if I don't do it? And the real answer, not an emotional one. Number 3, Is there somebody else that should be carrying this instead? If the answer is not me, you have to cut it. Step number 4, you have to accept trade-offs. This is where you have to be honest. You cannot be everywhere. You cannot do everything, and you cannot keep everyone happy. Tim Ferriss said, what you don't do determines what you can do. So here's the protocol. Trade-off declaration. You have to write this down. In this season, I am choosing to prioritize blank, and I am choosing not to prioritize blank. Make it clear, because unclear men feel guilty, but clear men move forward. Step number 5, you have to commit without apology. This is execution. You don't over-explain, you don't over-justify, you don't over-apologize. You just state it and move. State it clearly. Be as kind as you can, but give and go. Give your reason and then go far, far away. The real protocol, and honestly, the kindest response, is a clean, clear no. Examples. I just can't take that on right now. This doesn't fit with my current priorities. I'm focused somewhere else this season. No long explanation, no emotional leakage, just clarity. Look, I recently had a great opportunity pop up. It's in my wheelhouse, doing something that I love for a good cause with people who I love. And I was asked, are you willing to teach this class to this group of underprivileged people? I really wanted to do it, but the truth is I just can't. I don't have any more hours to give. And that was my answer. Hey, I just don't have any more hours to give right now. Then you need a daily application system. We need to make this repeatable. A daily lane check. It takes 5 minutes every morning. Ask yourself, what are my top 3 priorities today? And then ask yourself, what could pull me out of my lane today? And then, where do I need to say no? And then sometime that evening, maybe even on your drive home, ask yourself, where did I stay in my lane? Where did I step out and why? And how do I correct that tomorrow? Then there's the calendar test. Your calendar tells the truth, not your intentions. Look at your last 7 days. Where did your time actually go? What did you say yes to that didn't matter? What did you avoid that actually did matter? If your calendar doesn't reflect your priorities, you don't have a clarity problem anymore. You now have a discipline problem. The best illustration I could come up with this comes from my granddaughters who play soccer. I have granddaughters on 2 different teams. I have one granddaughter on the U8 team. Every single player on that team runs straight to the ball, all of them. There's no spacing, there's no positioning, there's no awareness, just a cluster of effort around one thing. Now, on the 8 and 9-year-old team, it's a little bit better, but they still bunch up. And here's the problem. There's no outlet. There's no one to pass to, no structure to support movement. And for the younger girls, there's not even really an opportunity to pass because everyone is standing on top of the same thing. So what happens? A lot of effort, a lot of movement, but no real progress. And that's how most men live. They chase everything. They crowd every opportunity. They overcommit to everything in front of them. And then they wonder why nothing's working, why they're busy, but not productive, why they're active, but not effective. Because they never learned how to stay in position. Look, you don't feel guilty because you're doing something wrong. You feel guilty because you never decided what the right thing is to do. So everything feels like your responsibility. It's not. You are not responsible for everything. So today, do this. Write down your 3 to 5 core insights. Cut one false obligation. Say one clean no. And align tomorrow's calendar with your priorities. No overthinking, just execution. Define your lane and then stay in it. And stop apologizing for it. In other words, be different.